Thank you for being here today. I'm Harmony Uretsky. I'm the Executive Director for the Survivor Circle for Reproductive Justice. Today is Support Bill S228 Day, a national day of action to support Bill S228, an act to amend the Criminal Code sterilization procedures. I'm honored to stand here today with those that have brought the bill forward and survivors of forced and coerced sterilization. There are Indigenous survivors represented across the country today, families and communities who are taking part in this National Day of Action to support Bill S228. There are over 20 events happening across the country in Indigenous communities, in towns and cities, from the Northwest Territories to BC to Nova Scotia, and will be happening here today as well on Parliament Hill. We want to take a moment to recognize that while the practice of forced and coerced sterilization has deep colonial roots in Canadian history, we must be clear that this practice is a contemporary and ongoing human rights violation. Indigenous people continue to come forward with experiences of sterilization being performed without free, prior, and informed consent. On Thursday, the House of Commons will debate Bill S228, an act to amend the Criminal Code that will explicitly define non-consensual sterilization as a form of aggravated assault. Bill S228 is the result of years of advocacy from survivors and Senator Boyer, MP Schmale, who are standing with us today. The legislation will send a clear message that such acts are unacceptable. There are consequences for conducting sterilization procedure without consent. And most importantly, this bill affirms justice for survivors and protects future generations. This bill has already been scrutinized and studied extensively in the Senate. Now, the House of Commons has the opportunity to take a historic leap and step in pursuing justice while protecting the next generation of Indigenous people. We call on all members of Parliament to stand with survivors and future generations and pass this bill without delay. I would now like to invite survivor Heather Bear to share her perspectives with us.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. And I would just like to say, first of all, I want to acknowledge our Creator today, and I'd like to say that I was sterilized without proper consent, and the passage of this bill it really hits to the heart and core of the emotional, the cause of the impacts that it has, on the emotional aspect of dealing with that, having that done without free, prior, and informed consent. Quite literally, a nurse comes in when you're in labor and immediately after childbirth and has you sign a consent without consultation, is simply not acceptable. And sadly, I'm not the only story. It seems that has been common practice with not only my generation, but this generation still. I want to say that the passage of this bill, means, that this country is finally taking this seriously. This act of genocide, as a First Nations mother, we're taught as grandmothers, and we're taught that our children are sacred and they're loaned to us. And no one has the right to take your birthright away, not in this country or any other country. But, it's been hard and grueling, to realize that you were violated, that I was violated in that manner. We trust doctors. We're supposed to trust the healthcare system. And when you put that trust and it's breached, it does leave you with a sense of vulnerability. And in dealing with that, this bill would certainly, bring some accountability, some justice, and again, like what Harmony says, protect other women from going through that experience, for generations to come. So we need to, support, again, this bill and take it seriously. This is just not something that's happened before. It's still happening. And thank you for being here. And like I say, it is serious, and you would do so much justice for the many, many survivors out there that are still here with us. So with that, I'll leave it to Harmony or Senator Boyer. Yeah, I'll leave it to you. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for coming here today. I'd like to begin by thanking MP Jamie Schmale for sponsoring S228 in the House of Commons and for his commitment to moving the legislation forward. I also want to acknowledge and thank the Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice for their extraordinary leadership, courage, and advocacy that they continue to show. Their work has transformed this issue from silence and stigma into national action. Bill S228 is simple, precise, and it's urgently needed. It makes one thing unmistakably clear in Canadian law, that sterilizing a person without their free and informed consent is aggravated assault. This bill exists because survivors came forward. They told Canada what happened to them, not generations ago, but in modern hospitals, in our lifetime, and in cases as recent as 2024 to young women. They told us they were sterilized at their most vulnerable time, during labor, while under medication, under pressure, or facing threats from an authority figure while they could not challenge it. The harm is permanent, the trauma is lifelong, and the impact reaches across generations. This practice has disproportionately harmed Indigenous women, but it's also affected people with disabilities, racialized women, gender diverse people, others who were treated as though their reproductive choices didn't matter. The Senate has studied this issue thoroughly. Survivors testified directly. Their message was clear: criminalize forced and coerced sterilization. Bill S228 is the result of this work. It was carefully drafted, refined, and with the input of the Department of Justice, and it passed unanimously in the Senate twice. While existing assault provisions do apply, they've never been used to prosecute forced sterilization. That silence has allowed confusion, inconsistency, and ultimately impunity. Bill S228 sends a clear message. In Canada, no one has a right to permanently take away another person's ability to have children through coercion, pressure, deception, or abuse of authority. Ahead of the second reading in the House of Commons, I'm asking members of Parliament from all parties to support this bill and move it forward without delay so it can become law as quickly as possible. Survivors have waited long enough. Every day without this clarity in our criminal code risks another irreversible violation. This is a moment for Parliament to act with unity and to affirm that reproductive autonomy is a fundamental human right in Canada. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you again to Senator Boyer for her leadership through the Senate in making S228 what it is today, ready to be introduced in the House of Commons for second reading later on this weekend. To all the partners, the Survivors Circle for Reproductive Justice, and many, many others who put input into this bill, making it the piece of legislation it is today. I am here to also add my support for S228 as the sponsor in the House of Commons. Canadians may think this is a dark chapter from our distant past, but unfortunately, many survivors still come forward today with heartbreaking accounts of their experiences, and Parliament needs to act now. Bill S228 strengthens the criminal code by clarifying that sterilization performed without free consent constitutes aggravated assault. While existing provisions address assault, the legislation removes any uncertainty and ensures clear accountability. For decades, Canada maintains a eugenics-based sterilization laws in many provinces, such as Alberta and British Columbia, and though those laws were repealed in 1970, testimony and independent reviews confirm that coerced sterilization did not simply end with legislative repeal. The issue was documented by the National Inquiry into Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls, which found that forced sterilization was used as a tool to control and diminish Indigenous populations. The injustice has primarily affected Indigenous women, leaving deep personal, cultural, and intergenerational harm. In many Indigenous communities, motherhood is tied to identity. It's closely tied to identity, culture, and continuity. To take that away without consent is not only a violation of the individuals, but also an assault on the community itself. Individuals with intellectual disabilities have also been targeted by sterilization procedures rooted in discriminatory assumptions about capacity and worth. Many were subjected to procedures without genuine consent, compounding stigma and denying them fundamental autonomy over their own bodies and their futures. Survivors have described being pressured during labor or immediately after childbirth, misled about what the procedure actually means, or asked to sign forms without full understanding. Consent obtained with fear, pressure, or exhaustion is not consent. S228 does not restrict voluntary health care. It targets only sterilization performed without informed and voluntary consent. It establishes clear legal consequences, strengthens patient safeguards, and sends a firm message that this conduct is criminal and unacceptable. This is about restoring trust and affirming a basic principle. Nobody's reproductive future can be taken from them without their consent. This historic injustice demands clear action, and Bill 228 delivers on that promise. Thank you.
Hello, bonjour. Claudette Dumont-Smith nin Ijnikaz, Kitigan Zibi nin Onjiba. So my name is Claudette Dumont-Smith, and I'm the co-chair of the Survivor Circle on Reproductive Justice. And I'm here, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you who are advocating and supporting the Circle on behalf of the survivors. While we know that passing Bill S228 is a historic milestone, we know that we still have a lot of work to do in order to bring full justice to the survivors of, I call it, the injustices that were done on so many women across Canada, Indigenous women. So beyond our advocacy as towards the Indigenous survivors, our circle wants to deliver survivor-led healing services, supports that are trauma-informed, transparent, and grounded in meaningful engagement for the survivors. The survivors are in great need of healing. Our organization is also prepared to educate Canada's medical practitioners on forced and coerced sterilization, which is something I think that needs to be done right across Canada on all medical institutions. And we have to also teach them about the underlying systemic and anti-Indigenous racism that continues to exist in many of our medical institutions, again across Canada. So once Bill S228 becomes law, it will become even more important to build awareness of forced and coerced sterilization and the extreme legal consequences that will arise when medical practitioners conduct these procedures. So we have a great role to play, and we are asking for your support as we move forward with our mandate. Miigwech, merci, thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'll accept any questions.
MP Schmale, I know you mentioned second reading will take place in the House later this week. Do you have a specific date there? And have there been any talks about fast-tracking this bill? Just read the legislation while you were doing your presentations, and it's really not that long, and it's a very straightforward bill.
Yeah, it is a pretty straightforward bill. It will be up for second reading this coming Thursday, and we have, in initial conversations with the other parties, have seemed to secure their support for the time being. It looks like the government is willing to have these conversations, and I'm hoping, yes, that we're able to get this through not only the second reading, but through the committee and report stage as quickly as possible. Good?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you for
Thank you,
sharing
Heather.
our stories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you very much.